to God, we must trust in His providence.
You're listening to Salt and Light Catholic Radio, celebrating 15 years of broadcasting the truth of the Catholic Church on KGEM 1140 AM and 102.3 FM Boise, KTFI 1270 AM and 101.7 FM Twin Falls, and KRIF 88.3 FM and HD1, Rockford, Idaho Falls.
Start your day the Catholic way. Salt and Light Radio now presents Morning Light. Local information and interviews, along with news, traffic, weather, and sports from across southern Idaho. Grab your favorite coffee mug and enjoy the next hour as we talk with the people you know and trust. And now, the host of Morning Light, Brian Howell and Hope Ryan.
Hope Ryan on vacation. She'll be back with us on Monday. I'll be flying solo once again here in the St. Gabriel studio on this Faithful Friday edition of Morning Light. It is July 18th, and coming up today we have Catholic Book Club with Dr. John Bergsma talking about his book, Jesus the Jubilee. Eddie Trask, Executive Director from Catholic Charities of Idaho, and Diann Scheetz providing our Blessed and Beautiful segment to wrap up the program. Please pray for our priest today for the retired Father Roger LaChance, who was ordained in May of 1967. And pray for vocations. This week we've been praying for Sister Chanel Schuler, one of the Benedictines up in Cottonwood at St. Gertrude's. Today is the feast of St. Camillus de Lellis, who took the advice of his friend St. Philip Neri and studied for the priesthood. He was ordained at 34 and went on to become the patron saint of hospitals, nurses, and healthcare workers. We'll learn more about him a little bit later on in the hour. It's currently 67 degrees in Boise, 66 in Twin Falls, Grangeville reporting 70 already today, and it's 60 degrees in Idaho Falls. And here is a prayer from St. Camillus. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Turn your merciful eyes upon those who suffer and those who care for them. Grant to the sick Christian trust in the goodness and power of God. Make those who take care of the sick be generous and lovingly dedicated. Help us to understand the mystery of suffering as a means of redemption and the way to God. May your protection comfort the sick and their families and encourage them to live together in love. Bless those who dedicate themselves to the sick, and may the good God grant peace and hope to all. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Traffic and weather coming up for you right after this.
Salt and Light Catholic Radio. Change your station, change your life. That slogan serves as a beacon for us to stay on track and continue to bring more souls to Christ. Your business has the opportunity to cooperate in our work by becoming a Beacon of Light sponsor. Your support not only furthers our mission, but it keeps this ministry financially viable. How can your business become a Beacon of Light? Call us at 208-344-4774 or visit saltandlightradio.com to learn more.
Support for Salt and Light Radio comes from Vogel Farms Country Market. Beef, pork, chicken, eggs, and turkey fresh from the farm. Local, all-natural grass and non-GMO grain-fed. With over 70 years experience, all animals and feed are raised in Kuna on Vogel Farms. Located at 9501 Robinson Road in Kuna, all meat is USDA inspected, cut, and wrapped locally. The phone number is 208-466-6828. Vogel Farms Country Market, a healthy alternative to the grocery store.
Brothers and sisters in Christ and the Diocese of Boise are teaming up for the 2025 Men's Retreat, July 24th through the 27th at Camp John Paul II in Cascade. This retreat is for men 18 years and older with opportunities to attend Mass, confession, listen to talks, engage in discussions, and participate in outdoor activities. The cost includes a 3-night stay in shared cabins, meals, and all retreat activities. Space is limited to 30 men, and registration closes Monday, July 7th, so register today.
Your morning light traffic. Things are starting to come to a crawl at the Meridian Road interchange, trying to get onto eastbound I-84. It will remain busy all the way through the Eagle Road interchange. Intersection of North Eagle and Chinden Boulevard already starting to stack in all directions. And taking a look at the drive into downtown Boise, everything looks clear and no incidents to report. That is your morning light traffic. Weekend weather for the Treasure Valley, sunny, highs mid to upper 90s, lows mid 60s. Magic Valley, mostly sunny over the next few days. Afternoon highs 90 to 95, lows 60 to 65. Eastern Idaho, partly cloudy through the weekend. Highs mid-80s and lows mid-50s. Camas Prairie, sunny and 90 today. Then cloudy skies will cool things down to 80 degrees for tomorrow and Sunday. Lows 50 to 55. 67 in Meridian, 68 degrees in Caldwell, and in Buell, you're waking up to 68 degrees. Morning Light continues across the Salt and Light Catholic Radio Network. A real treat for you this morning as we are talking with Dr. John Bergsma from the St. Paul Center for Biblical Theology. Good morning. Welcome to Morning Light.
Good morning.
Hey, glad to be on there. I'm happy always to be with my friends from Idaho.
My co-host here, Hope Ryan, she was very blessed to be able to be in Italy on a Salt and Light Radio pilgrimage, and everybody in the group was given your book. So we wanted to talk about that here this morning, first of all.
Right. Jesus and the Jubilee, we all read it. We all talked about it. And I've heard several times, and you've told the story numerous times about your connection with the Jubilee. Could you give us maybe the Reader's Digest version of that?
Sure. You know, it's by God's providence, God arranged, I believe, in hindsight, that I come down to the University of Notre Dame, certainly not planning to become a Catholic. I was a Protestant pastor in Michigan, but I was starting a doctoral program there, and, you know, they have an ecumenical faculty. They had Protestants teaching. I came to study with the Protestants, not with the Catholics. So I went down there, you know, but it was in the fall of 99 as the Jubilee was ramping up, the great Jubilee of 2000 that John Paul II proclaimed. And, you know, I only realized last year, thinking about it, but in January of 2000, I was an anti-Catholic Calvinist, if folks know what a Calvinist is. And by December of that year, I was emailing a priest friend of mine saying, "What must I do to be saved?" And he emailed back right away, kind of knowing what I was hinting at. And then he was over in about 45 minutes with a catechism in hand, talking to my wife and I, and had arranged our confirmation before he left. So, you know, I was brought into the church, and I really believe that the Jubilee graces that were unleashed by John Paul II when he declared 2000 to be a holy year, I really think they worked in my heart, even though I was as skeptical and as unbelieving about, you know, the church's Jubilee as anybody in that year. And other things happened. It was in that year that my dissertation director told me, "You should write on the Jubilee." So I chose my topic for my dissertation on the biblical Jubilee, and that same year, a huge commentary on Leviticus, including the chapter on the Jubilee, Leviticus 25, came out by one of the world's greatest commentators on Leviticus. So all these kind of convergences in the year 2000, you know, really have marked my life ever after. And when this new Jubilee was proclaimed by Pope Francis last year, I thought, you know, I'm going to be 79 the next time one of these things is probably proclaimed. That's a little bit long to wait. Maybe I'll write something now to kind of share on a popular level some of the stuff that I learned about Jubilee while working on it for several years at University of Notre Dame.
I enjoyed the book a lot. I read it stem to stern. I took some notes. The part that really blew my mind was the connection of the plagues to the different Egyptian gods. I had never heard that before. It made so much sense to me. So I encourage all of the listeners to get a hold of it. It's a readable book. It's not huge. And your style is this wonderful mix of humor and life story and biblical theology. I really enjoyed your style a lot.
Thank you. Well, you know, my day job is keeping 18 to 22-year-olds awake for 75 minutes. So, yeah, I have to keep it real. But thank you very much. And, you know, I think people will enjoy it.
So the first week of June, you were here in Boise. Tell us a little bit about that. What were your memories? And hopefully it was a positive visit.
Oh, every visit to Boise is positive. You guys are so blessed out there. You get so much sunshine and, you know, access to the great outdoors. What a beautiful state. But loved being there. I was giving 3 days of talks to the clergy of the Diocese of Boise, and we had a great time talking about the Jubilee. We did 3 sessions on the Jubilee, and then we did 3 sessions on the Gospel of Luke, which is kind of the Gospel of Jubilee, and we tied that in. And then we had a wonderful time on a Tuesday night at St. Mark's. Again, talking about Jubilee to everybody who wanted to come. Had a great group, about 350 people, packed out the fellowship hall there at St. Mark's, and what a great time that was. That just the excitement, the buzz. I think everybody enjoyed themselves.
And then the clergy received the message well. This wasn't just another thing that they have to do when the Jubilee comes around, that they actually, accept it with joy.
Yeah, I think so. They really responded, and I think they got some ideas for some things to share with the congregation, and some tips on what we can do to kind of lean into this Jubilee year. So yeah, it was a wonderful experience.
So switching gears from in-person to online, you have several podcast projects, one being Letters from Home. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. So here at the St. Paul Center, we have a daily podcast that comments on the daily readings. And I do Wednesdays and Fridays, and my other colleagues cover the other days. So people are encouraged to tune into that. It's like a short 10-minute devotional based on the readings for that day. And if folks like listening, maybe a little bit more than having a book, after all, if you've got drive time, and I'm sure folks in Idaho have some drive time, you can tune in and just get kind of built up in your faith and led a little bit more deeply into the readings for that day and for the kind of the spirit of that day's Mass.
I listened to the first episode of Stunned by Scripture with Dr. John Bergsma, a new podcast, and I'm really waiting for the next episode to drop. What else is happening with that one in particular, because it's new?
Yes, so that is my own podcast out of the St. Paul Center here. The first episode was just me telling my conversion story, how I journeyed into the Catholic Church. It was a lot of fun to do, by the way, and we had a great time producing that. And then we've already shot 3 episodes with interviews with some of my great colleagues right here at Franciscan University and the St. Paul Center. So, and some amazing conversion stories. So what I like to do on this podcast is always first give my guests the opportunity to share their own spiritual journey. Many of them are converts, but some are reverts, and spent part of their life wandering from the Catholic faith. And it's so edifying for me. I've been deeply moved by the stories of Dr. Shane Owens, my colleague here at Franciscan University, for example, who just has a beautiful story of his journey through faith and, staying with the faith in the midst of a very hostile secular university environment at the University of Florida, and actually growing closer to God in the midst of what otherwise would be an environment where many young people would fall away from the faith. Dr. Mike Cirilla has joined me, Dr. Jeff Morrow, who's a convert from Judaism and has an absolutely fascinating story. Actually, Dr. Cirilla's story is amazing too. He followed the Grateful Dead all around the country for a couple of years in his 20s. And it's, alternatively, hilarious and dramatic at the same time. So anyway, folks are going to love those interviews that are going to come out. And I'm also going to have some kind of direct-to-camera episodes coming up too on things like indulgences, probably the Jubilee year again, and other topics. So I'm really excited about it.
What a long, strange trip it's been, to quote.
Indeed.
If you're just joining us here on Morning Light, we are blessed to be able to talk with Dr. John Bergsma today from the St. Paul Center of Biblical Theology. Any other projects? It sounds like you are extremely busy. I don't know where you would find time for new projects, but is there anything else that we can look forward to on the horizon?
Oh, absolutely. So some folks will probably be familiar with the textbook on the Old Testament that I wrote with Dr. Brant Petrie, another very beloved author, and I love his stuff myself. And he and I are trying to get the New Testament textbook. It's going to be called A Catholic Introduction to the Bible, New Testament from Ignatius Press. We're hard at work at that, trying to get that in a clean shape to be given to Ignatius Press so they can start working on producing that. And I think that's going to be a monumental kind of game changer in the world of Catholic biblical scholarship. And it's going to be a kind of a go-to textbook for lay people, for clergy, for undergraduate, and even like seminary and graduate work as well.
Excellent. Wow. I noticed on the website there's a convention or a conference for Protestant pastors who converted to Catholicism. Is that real, and why is that happening? I found that fascinating. I thought there's enough to have a convention.
Oh yeah, there's more than enough to have a convention. That actually took place 2 weekends ago.
Oh, okay.
Right here at our headquarters at the St. Paul Center. We had 50 former Protestant clergymen who have come into the Catholic Church over the past 10 years or so. Some former bishops, some radio evangelists, and just youth pastors. Such a wide variety from every kind of Protestantism that you can imagine: Lutheranism, Pentecostalism, Calvinism, and we all gathered here. And of course, Dr. Scott Hahn and myself are also clergy converts, and so it was just a powerful, powerful experience. I can hardly put it into words. There's never been anything like it. We've never had a conference just specifically for former clergy that have now entered the church. And of course, we were overwhelmed by interest. We could only fit 50 people in the weekend with our facility here, but there were many, many, many more that wanted to participate. So this is probably going to become an annual thing in conjunction with the Coming Home Network, which, as you know, is an organization just dedicated to helping clergy make that, what we call crossing the Tiber, that move to come into the Catholic Church. And it's amazing how much interest there is among clergy all over the country. The Coming Home Network gets hundreds and hundreds of inquiries every year from pastors who have read the Church Fathers or read some of the literature from Dr. Scott Hahn and other theologians and apologists out there, and want to know, how can I come into the Catholic Church, and the practical issues, like how am I going to provide for my family. So that was just an amazing event. I'm never going to forget it, and we're going to look forward to having that in future years as well.
That was my next question is, when these pastors come into the church, that they're basically giving up their livelihood, so that's got to be one of the biggest challenges. What were some of the other things that they were sharing?
Oh, other impediments are, how their family will react. That's often a big deal. Oftentimes they're children of clergy themselves, and so their father, who's a preacher, is in conflict with them when they decide to come into the church, or they're, oftentimes their mothers are women of deep faith, as you might imagine, and that's difficult. Siblings, etc. Spouses sometimes who don't want to make that swim across the Tiber. That's a big issue. And then, as you say, what am I going to do now? Some are able to come in by the pastoral provision and become priests, but that's actually rather uncommon. Usually they have to do some kind of lateral move to some other kind of, vocation that utilizes some of the gifts that they have. But, they bring such pastoral gifts into the church, and initially they might do a kind of a secular job, but usually what happens is the church finds a place for them to use their gifts, and they end up in educational or ministerial roles with apostolates, dioceses, parishes, etc. So it's beautiful to see how, the Catholic Church is really a big tent and can accept everybody and can find a place for everybody to exercise their gifts.
Fantastic. So in our last minute with you, what else would you like to let our listeners know about?
Well, I just want to encourage folks, to lean into this Jubilee year. If you want some ideas, I hate to toot my own horn, and of course they used a horn to proclaim the Jubilee year, but I would just encourage folks to get the book, and it's not even half over. So if you feel like, I've lost so much time, don't be discouraged. We got more than half of the Jubilee year yet ahead of us. There's time to lean into the graces, to go through a holy door, make a pilgrimage, learn how to take advantage of the indulgences. It's just a wonderful year of grace. As I like to say, it's a time to believe big and to pray big.
So we want to let people know that I will have several links in our show notes for today. There's a free digital Jubilee one-page practical Jubilee guide that people can get a hold of from the St. Paul Center and Dr. Bergsma's Instagram accounts. So we will have all of that information in our show notes. So be sure and circle back.
Dr. Bergsma, thank you so much for your time, and God bless you and everything that you do at the St. Paul Center for Biblical Theology, and hope to have you on again real soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure and an honor. Thanks, Hope. Thanks, Brian.
Are you struggling to find a way to spread the news about your upcoming event and reach more of the Catholic community? Salt and Light Radio would love to support your effort. Click the Public Service Announcement tab at our website, saltandlightradio.com, and we can help you design, record, and produce some fantastic public service announcements. And best of all, they're free. Salt and Light Catholic Radio. Change your station, change your life.
This is Paul Ford, field agent for Knights of Columbus Insurance. You know the Knights for their service to the parish and community. But did you know we were named by Forbes as one of America's best insurance companies in 2022? Knights of Columbus offers life insurance, disability income protection, long-term care coverage, and retirement annuities. All Catholic men and their families are eligible. For more information, my phone number is 208-521-0931. That's 208-521-0931.
Birthright is a pregnancy resource center that relies on the dedication, time, and talents of volunteers, individuals who share the philosophy and commitment to offering loving, confidential, and non-judgmental support to those who are pregnant or think they may be pregnant. No experience is required, just a loving heart and a few hours of your time each month. Training is provided. For more information or to contact us, go to our website at birthrightofboise.com.
721 Morning Light continues across the Salt and Light Catholic Radio Network. Thanks for joining us on this Faithful Friday. Hope Ryan on vacation through the weekend. She'll be back with us on Monday. In the St. Gabriel studio, joined by the Executive Director of Catholic Charities of Idaho, Eddie Trask. Good morning, Eddie.
Good morning, Brian. How are you?
I'm great.
I want to interview you at
You
some
should
point.
sometime. I'm a very interesting person. Not at all. You have a upcoming gala in October, and I know that sounds like it's a long way away, but there's a lot of planning that goes into galas, one of which is sponsorships. And I think what you have done to try to sell sponsorships for this upcoming gala, it is genius. And we're going to share the link that if you have a business or you have a group of friends and you want to sponsor a table or two or three for the upcoming gala, we will put that on our show notes today so that you can check it out. But yeah, tell us more about the upcoming gala.
So the gala is going to be 25th anniversary gala, October 25th in Eagle. And you're right, Brian. Planning started months ago, and it's happening very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
The ball is moving very quickly. So yeah, we're working on sponsorships, and we have 6 tiers of sponsorship. And each tier is a nod or provides a nod to a different saint. So Saint Elizabeth of Hungary is the patron of charity workers, and that's the top tier sponsorship, and then it goes down from there. Saint John Bosco, patron of the youth. So you'll see this theme. These saints that we look to, they represent all the different departments that we have here. So Saint Damien of Molokai, patron of outcasts. Saint Dymphna, patron of mental health. St. Francis Cabrini, patron of immigrants. And Saint, help me pronounce that name. Is it Jean?
Jean Jugon.
Jean Jugon.
From Les Mis, I think.
Yes.
No, I don't.
From patron of the elderly and destitute.
Now, I like what you've done here with, at the very bottom, because it tells you for this price, this is what you're getting.
Yes.
And it's very generous what you're getting for the cost of that sponsorship. But at the bottom, it's how many families are impacted by that gift. And I think when you put a face to it like that, where it really makes you stop and think, okay, it takes this much to help that many people, or the impact of a gift that could help, wow, that's a lot of families that I can impact by simply showing up for a dinner gala that I'm going to show up to anyway.
I appreciate you calling attention to it. It is something that's important to us to educate about, that we are helping people. This is not simply an event that we hold and then all the fundraising goes for the event. This is our biggest fundraiser of the year. So that's why we try to emphasize the sponsorships early. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're 3.5 months away, something like that. So emphasizing how many families are being impacted, connecting it to a patron saint of all these different issues that we see in the office is highly important for us. And then also, if you enjoy going to events, you're not going to want to miss this event. It's going to be great. 5:30 to 9:30 again, October 25th. It's a Saturday evening. Last year we did it on a Thursday, and we believe that we'll get more attendance this year because on a Saturday we can stay up a little bit later.
Let our hair down a
Let
little
our
bit.
hair down a little bit.
It's not a school night.
That's right. That's right.
So it's the 25th anniversary on October 25th in 2025. So you kind of see a theme there. Chateau Lafleur again?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And 5:30 to 9:30. And again, we will get that link on our show notes later today so you can check out all these different levels of sponsorship. Do we know what tickets are going to cost and all that yet?
Yeah, tickets are just like last year,
Okay.
$150.
All right.
So, yeah, get your tickets now. They just went on sale recently. And I believe that it's going to sell out. So, yeah, get on it as sponsorships and tickets. And the other thing I wanted to mention about the event is that if we are really thinking through what does it mean to serve the community for 25 years. First of all, I just started a year ago. It's been about, just over a year.
Wow.
And it's important to acknowledge everything that we've done over these 25 years, not just the recent things, but what we've done over 25 years. And it's so interesting to think about that it lands on a Jubilee year that we're celebrating our 25th year anniversary. And in our impact report, or on the cover of the impact report, we call attention to the verse, or the verse is in Luke 4, when Jesus is speaking of the Jubilee year. He has sent me to proclaim release to the captives and recovery of sight to the blind, to let the oppressed go free, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. So we wanted to make sure that that has an element that's included in the gala, in the marketing, little subtle nods to this idea of Jubilee, that Catholic Charities and other nonprofits are doing work to help captives, to help people. Are we restoring literal sight? No. Are we restoring emotional sight? Are we restoring, in some cases, spiritual sight? Absolutely. So through this year, we want to make sure that we are not just thinking about the 25 years of work, but also the fact that we land here at a very incredible moment in the church, in church's history, and to make sure that people know that we are doing what we can to free people.
So your predecessor had worked with Catholic Charities in Oregon before moving to Boise, so it was kind of a lateral move and maybe not too many surprises. You, in your first year, as you look back, what are some things that really stand out that you kind of like, wow, I had no idea?
For an executive director, I think the biggest surprise is how much of a Swiss Army knife you're asked to be. So in one 4-hour whatever part of the day, I could be doing fundraising, communications, marketing, strategy work, operations, personnel work, human resources, whatever else, financial awareness. Thank God I have an amazing staff that complements everything that I bring to the table. The things that I do not bring to the table, they pick up so well. But that's the most difficult part, because it's mentally, it stretches you beyond anything I thought was possible. But it's great because I reflect on this often. If I wasn't being stretched in these different areas, if I wasn't being challenged in different areas, what would I be doing? Would I be excited about work if I wasn't being stretched? I think that's the point. I think many of us, most of us, desire to have that challenge to keep us going, keep us fresh.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you're just joining us here on Morning Light, Eddie Trask is our guest. He's the Executive Director of Catholic Charities of Idaho, talking about the upcoming gala on October 25th. And also mission moments. I think this is interesting. We've got several of them that are airing here on Salt and Light Radio throughout the day. But it's just these messages that let people know these are all the different pillars. These are the areas that Catholic Charities helps in within Idaho and the people's lives who've been touched by this work.
Yeah, and I also want to mention when we started working on the gala video. So at the gala, there's a kind of premiere video, and it was very important for us this year, as it is every year. But this year, there's going to be multiple touch points, multiple stories across the different departments of how people have been impacted. In recent years, we might have zeroed in on one type of story within social services or counseling. But this year, it's more of an aerial view of what we do. But I'll give you a few examples of these mission moments. So this is a story of Jamie. Consistent caring therapy at CCI transformed Jamie's complex mental health challenges, including anxiety, depression, and suicidal thoughts. Over 2 years, her counselor offered steady guidance, which fostered healthy coping skills. She identified a sensory link to something that's called pica. I don't know if you're familiar with that. So you might have cravings, compulsions to eat something or put something in your mouth that has no
like nutritional value?
Thank you.
Okay.
No nutritional value. Exactly.
That's 80% of my diet, so just eating just to have
just
something
eating.
going
But yeah,
in
this could be something like dirt, paper. So that's
wow.
not used.
Yeah,
that's a different different thing. But
Right.
it led to occupational therapy. And then in occupational therapy, it revealed different triggers that were leading to that, and then safe alternative to that. So the dedicated support team built a strong therapeutic bond, which significantly reduced Jamie's self-harm ideation and helped her manage her pica. Now she's equipped with coping skills. Jamie feels hopeful about her future, which demonstrates the profound impact of integrated, compassionate mental health care.
Wow.
Meaning it's not just transactional. It's not this simple fix, as you've heard. I mean, you get to talk to counselors all the time, which is amazing. I think that segment that you have here is so beautiful. I want more and more people throughout the state to understand how important therapy is, counseling is. There shouldn't be some massive taboo surrounding it. If you need help, go freely and be confident in it. And if it takes 9 months, if it takes 2 years, there are counselors, not just at Catholic Charities of Idaho, but elsewhere, that will walk with you, that will care for you, that will see you, that will see your dignity and recognize you're not alone. Just like the priest that hears confessions of every type and says, you're not going to surprise me, so too with a therapist.
Good point. Yeah.
Don't worry, just go, especially if you feel a tug. And I would advocate to have people go in person when they can.
Yeah. So before we run out of time, I know you've got some current job postings.
Yes.
So let our listeners know, maybe they're interested in making a change and want to work for a great organization like CCI. What do you got open over there?
So we had 3 positions. We just filled one, which was
Okay.
a donor relations administrative assistant, which is going to be helping Shyla in her role. You'll be talking to her next week, I believe. And then 2 roles, very important, case management positions in Boise and in Pocatello.
Okay.
So I encourage all of you to go to the careers page on ccidaho.org, and you can read more about those case management positions. But hugely important for this community to make sure that we get more and more talented individuals that can help so many folks navigate the complexities of the social services structure and make sure that they're getting the appropriate help they need, and that, again, just like the counseling, that they have someone that's going to hold their hand and persevere with them.
Yeah. Wow. All right.
Are we close to running out of time?
Well, we've got
Brad?
about a minute and a half, I guess.
Okay.
I panicked. I thought maybe you had more jobs. So.
And we'll soon be creating 18 more jobs. And let me
Just
go
to
through
fill the
those.
time.
Yeah, these hypothetical jobs here.
Dishwasher. Vacuum cleaner pusher.
I'll read one more mission moment.
Oh, yeah,
actually.
yeah. I love to hear these stories.
So I read some of them last time I was on, but there was one that I did not cover. Yeah, so Carrie. Carrie is a single mother, and she found a steadfast ally and comprehensive support at CCI through a dedicated case manager. consistent sessions provided essential case management and empathetic parenting education, offered community resources, helped with budgeting, and encouraged healthy relationships. So that part of that is helping set healthy boundaries. This holistic approach equipped Carrie with practical parenting skills, newborn care education, postpartum well-being strategies, and self-care techniques. Essential newborn items and diaper bank connections offered tangible support. So it was both the intangible and the tangible, which is very important for many of these situations. Completing her services, Carrie now approaches motherhood with newfound confidence and gratitude for the comprehensive education and unwavering support. So that's what I believe we are doing well. We will continue to get better at it because we care about all the folks in the community, and we want to help as many as we can. But case management, especially these two roles that we're talking about, it takes time to walk with someone. I want to emphasize that. Everything we talk about in the impact report, what we'll be talking about at the gala, these stories take time. And if you know anyone in your community and you may think something about them, maybe something negative, like why don't they just figure it out? Just know that they need people in their lives that believe in them, that they will walk with, and that they can start to open up. And that's the whole point. We're not going to give up. We're going to persevere. And it's what, I don't know, it's what motivates me every day.
Excellent. CCIdaho.org is the beautiful new website that it's been redesigned, and it's waiting for you to discover all of these little trinkets and treasures. Eddie Trask, Executive Director, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it.
All right, we're going to take a short break. Be back with news, traffic, and weather next.
In the pew or in the park, sun, rain, or snow, virtual or in person, our Catholic community has events for every reason of the season. Salt and Light Radio likes to highlight these events in a weekly Monday e-newsletter we like to call Spotlight. It's a short listing of community events for the week. Be in the know of activities in the Catholic community to strengthen your faith and grow. To sign up, go to saltandlightradio.com and click on the Spotlight.
Salt and Light Radio would like to thank Mary at Kumon Center of Boise for her support as a Beacon of Light sponsor. Whether it's homeschool, Catholic school, or any school, Kumon supports all students. As a parent, you can trust that your child is receiving the same high-caliber instruction with materials consistent with their schooling program, freeing up more family time for other activities. A free assessment can be scheduled at 208-921-2667. That's 208-921-2667. Morning Light News time is 7:36. It's currently 70 degrees in Boise. It's also 70 in Twin Falls. Grangeville up to 73 already this morning. It's 65 in Idaho Falls. An Idaho judge lifted a sweeping gag order yesterday in Brian Kohberger's quadruple murder case. Kohberger avoided the potential death sentence by pleading guilty earlier this month to the brutal stabbing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students in November of 2022. A coalition of news organizations asked the court to lift the gag order since a trial is no longer planned. Kohberger's defense team argued against lifting the gag order, saying it could lead to more media coverage and jeopardize the integrity of the sentencing process. From one public institution to another, the city of Nampa has proposed an ownership transfer of the Ford Idaho Center over to the College of Western Idaho. A Tuesday evening town hall discussing the proposal saw a strong showing of over 100 attendees at the first of 3 sessions. As the aging facility has brought challenges, Nampa Mayor Debbie Kling said the city had to consider how to address these emergent costs, adding that the center is a great asset, but it needs the proper funds and attention in order to shine. The Boise Hawks, well, they've been hosting the Colorado Springs Skyhawks. How did the home team do yesterday? Oh, yeah, they lost 10-3 last night. Their 3rd straight loss against the worst team in the league. What is going on? Apparently the Hawks do not like home cooking. The home series continues tonight and tomorrow night at Memorial Stadium in Garden City. First pitch at 7:05. Then there'll be a Sunday matinee at 1 o'clock to wrap up the series. Post-game fireworks if you go to tonight's game. For schedule, scores, and standings, visit the website boisehawks.com. And finally, community members were invited to a public meeting yesterday regarding the forthcoming construction of the State Highway 16, Highway 44 intersection. The meeting informed area residents about the project and its anticipated traffic impacts once construction begins later this summer. The project will replace the current intersection with a new interchange design that includes on and off ramps to increase safety and efficiency. Part of the Idaho Transportation Department's long-term vision for Highway 16, which will be extended farther south. The broader project is expected to be completed sometime in 2027. And speaking of traffic, we got our traffic maps here. Things look pretty good coming into downtown Boise. As we zoom out, things continue to stack at the intersection of Eagle Road and Chinden. Also, looks like the Meridian Road interchange, a lot of stop and go in the on-ramps, and the Eagle Road interchange starting to stack as well. Still no incidents to report. That is your morning light traffic. Weekend weather, first for the Treasure Valley, sunny, highs mid to upper 90s, lows mid 60s. Magic Valley, mostly sunny over the next few days, highs 90 to 95 with lows 60 to 65. Eastern Idaho, partly cloudy through the weekend with highs in the mid 80s and lows in the mid 50s. And Camas Prairie, sunny and 90 today, then becoming cloudy. That'll cool things down to 80 for Saturday and Sunday. Lows 50 to 55. It's 72 in Napa, 71 in Fruitland, and Rupert reporting 66 degrees. Let's learn more about our saint of the day. When we return, we'll wrap up this Faithful Friday edition of Morning Light with Blessed and Beautiful.
This is Franciscan Media's Saint of the Day for July 18th. Today we celebrate Saint Camillus de Lellis. Born in 1550 and neglected by his father after his mother's death, Camillus grew up with an excessive love of gambling. While serving in the military, he was sent to Rome's San Giacomo Hospital for incurables, suffering from a leg wound that refused to heal. In 1574, Camillus gambled away everything that he had, forcing him to accept lodging and work at a Capuchin friary. A sermon by the superior prompted Camillus to change his life and enter the Capuchin novitiate. Trouble with his leg sent him back and forth from the Capuchins to San Giacomo, where eventually he was made superintendent. Camillus devoted the rest of his life to the care of the sick. On the advice of a friend, he studied for the priesthood and was ordained in 1584. The religious congregation that Camillus founded bound themselves to serve prisoners, plague victims, and fighting troops, as well as those dying in private homes. Camillus de Lellis died in 1614 and was canonized in 1746. Along with St. John of God, he is honored as the patron of hospitals, nurses, and the sick. There's more about the saints along with inspiration and Catholic resources at our website, saintoftheday.org. From Franciscan Media, this has been Saint of the Day.
7:42, 18 minutes away from 8 o'clock as we wrap up this Faithful Friday edition of Morning Light with Blessed and Beautiful. Diann Scheetz joining me here in the St. Gabriel studio as we continue our conversation on social influences. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So how do social influences play a part in your life? Or are you the influence?
Well, I don't know about that, but I certainly try. Yeah, I do have a little bit of that ministry where I do evangelize and being on the radio show and doing different things. I also help with OCIA. So with that comes a lot of responsibility, and that really hit me this week. So I'm sure you and maybe some other people know that there was a little bit of controversy this week with one of the social influencers. I don't know if you know that. It was a young man. He's only 29, and some allegations were made, and
some negative behavior.
Negative behaviors, and we don't. And I just want to say,
innocent before proven
innocent
guilty.
before, yes, absolutely. And I will say, gosh, I love Joe Heschmeyer from Catholic Answers. He has his own podcast, Shameless Popery. Great podcast, so I would highly recommend that. And he discussed the situation. And it's kind of funny because I literally just started listening to this influencer, and I listen to a lot. I mean, I'm listening to Catholic priests. I'm listening to Scott Hahn and Dr. Bergsma. Love that segment with Dr. Bergsma. Brant Petrie, all of those. But I also really enjoy listening to what's happening with youth. I feel like for whatever reason, I'm really drawn to that. And I think part of it, too, is I just, talking to young men especially, I feel like I could, for some strange reason, I'm connected to them and like helping maybe push them, not push them, how do I push that?
Guide.
Encourage, guide them to discern the priesthood or other things. And so and then I also have young nephews, men, in my life. And so I'm always looking for really good influencers that can kind of help that. Well, when this allegation came out, it hit me. I mean, it floored me, to be honest. And I have only been listening to him for like a month and a half, but he's debated some really big Protestants and Eastern Orthodox and has done phenomenal. He has such a great way about him, a very kind, loving, even when people are attacking him, he comes back with love. But the point of that story is we still have to be so careful who we're listening to. And again, I don't know if any of these allegations are true about this particular young man. But I was sitting one time with Father Ben at my parish, and I was talking about some of the people that I was listening to, and he's like, well, I don't know if you should be listening to this particular person. I didn't like the way he talked about Marian devotion. And I was like, it reminded me, being an OCIA teacher, that I need to be careful of who I am, encouraging people to listen to and staying connected with a priest. I'm sure Father Ben is not sitting around on YouTube listening to every Catholic influencer, right? But still just keeping that connection. And then for myself, I mean, as a teacher, whether I'm a teacher with OCIA or you're just a parishioner and you're guiding people, we still have to be careful of that, because you could fall into believing something or following somebody and putting that person on a pedestal. And so when I was listening to Joe Heschmeyer on Shameless Popery, he was talking about having that discernment and also not judging people, because again, we don't know what's true and what's not at this point. But stay connected to people. And so if you are one of those people that maybe you are struggling with some serious sin, is yes, go to confession, talk to your priest, that kind of thing, but also talk to your friends and stay connected and always have that regimen of, if you say the rosary or, you're going to daily mass, keep those things in your life and share with people that maybe you are struggling with something. Maybe it's pornography, maybe it's drugs, something. And that's what's so great about our church. I love that we have all these sacraments that you can go and stay connected to those things.
Yeah, and I think anybody that gets into this realm, especially, any kind of thing that is going to promote Jesus, promote the Catholic Church, you are painting a giant bullseye on your back.
Yep.
And be prepared for spiritual attack.
Absolutely.
And again, we hope that the allegations against this young man are false.
Right.
Because it's just the evil one trying to tear something down that is bringing good to so many people. But if you're going to get into the realm of social influence or any kind of work for the church, you better have a spiritual director. You better be going to confession once a week. Because you don't want that temptation to, because then think about, okay, what if this is true?
Right.
How many people have been influenced by this young man?
Right.
And they're going to be disappointed if it ends the way they say. I don't know. It's just, you really have to be careful and be strong, have a strong prayer life.
Right, because I think a lot of times, we think social media, young people, not so young people, that, you're maybe watching things that maybe you shouldn't. But now we're in the world of you're gaining your faith and you're listening to maybe just Christian, but in particular Catholic podcasts and shows. And so you're thinking, oh, I'm good. I'm safe. I believe everything this person says because he's got, that Catholic, on his sleeve. And for me, I thought to myself, wow, as an adult that's been around for a while, that I still got caught up in that. And I, like I said, hope it's not, true, but to not put these people on a pedestal.
Right.
They're just like us. They all, we all have sin, and especially he's such a young person. I mean, maybe it was too much for him to have all this adoration and people, telling him how great he is and that kind of thing. So for me, it was just really good to say to myself, I need to be a little more objective. And even if somebody does fall from grace, it doesn't take away from everything that he's ever said, because sounds like everything he's said has been spot on. If anything, that's maybe why he was attacked.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we think of Bishop Barron. He's been around for a long time with all of his teaching series. Now Father Mike Schmitz. That it is easy to put those kind of men up on a pedestal, that they are the be-all, end-all of Catholicism in America.
Right. And it was kind of funny because some of my students from OCIA are the ones that actually had told me about this particular person. And so I was feeling all sorry for myself and like, oh, poor me. Oh, I hope it's not true. And so I reached out to them, and it was so funny because I thought I really should call them, being a brand new Catholic. I thought, I just don't want this to affect that.
Right.
And so the funny thing was they ended up consoling me and saying, oh no, we've been praying for him, and if it's not true, we hope he gets over this, and that kind of thing. And so it was just funny because I thought, oh, I better do my due diligence as the teacher or whatever, and they're the ones like helping me out. So it was quite a blessing, and that is the cool thing about doing ministry. Sometimes you're ministering to people, some people are ministering to you. So I just absolutely love that give and take, and special family. The whole family is great, and they're doing quite well despite, maybe being a little floored by this, like a lot of people are. So, but yeah, I'm so excited. And here's the cool thing too. It's made me reach out to some of the other saints. Like you think of Maximilian Kolbe that does that publication. That was the social media of the time.
Right.
And he just put out all this really great information. And so I had his card on my desk, and I thought, I'm going to pull that because those are the ones, we know those saints. They're already in heaven. They're not sinning. Those are perfect people to go to. They are our family. And and even just listening to Salt and Light Radio on the way over here, and I know you guys replayed Dr. Bergsma, and listening to Eddie Trask with Catholic Charities, I was already like going up. I'm like, this is where social media, radio can really help somebody to get through the day, because man, we're getting lobbed at by evil demonic stuff all week long, and he wants nothing more for us to be like, see, you put this person on the pedal, and now we've dropped him down, and then you go into that like potentially depression or just upset, or kind of ruins your day. And it's like, no, I'm not going to let the devil get in my head. I still have my Catholic faith, and it's just as beautiful, if not more. And I just loved talking about the Jubilee year, because my motto is anything can happen in the Jubilee year, right? And so, yeah, I'm not going to let that get me down. But yes, we do have to be careful with social media, and continue to be and be open to knowing what your kids are watching. And like I said, the priests and the parents, they don't know who some of these social influencers are, and you don't know if they're getting dogma right and steering somebody down the road, and then pretty soon they're questioning their faith. And it's not that we don't want people to look at other things, but just so that you're guiding that young person or somebody that's who's new to the faith. I think a lot of times is we just want to make sure that we're all on track, and we're all not letting things influence you. We should never put anybody on a pedestal anyway. I mean, we should be looking to the Gospels. And oh my gosh, I went to adoration because I normally do on Thursdays, but I was like, I have to go to adoration. And normally, like, I maybe listen to some music or read some Gospels or something, and I just got this really strong feeling. Jesus, like, no, I want silence.
Ooh.
Silence, Diann. And I was like, yeah, but what if I listen to some nope. So it was great just to spend beautiful, quiet time with the Lord. And he shared with me some things, and it was really nice to have that lifted off. And so because I didn't know what I was going to talk about today, because I kind of had a different idea. And then when all of this happened, and I was like, okay, well, we're gonna jump in it. but God certainly guided me through it, and adoration was really a beautiful experience for me last night. So, and I read that somewhere too, that someone said, get off of YouTube, go to adoration. And I thought that's so true, because sometimes there's too much noise, there's too much going on, always the background.
Well, and our prayer life is supposed to be a two-way conversation, but it's sometimes hard to hear the response to those prayers when we're bombarding ourselves with noise. So it's great to have that hour in adoration where you can listen for his response.
Exactly. Yep.
Well, thank you so much for coming in today and discussing social influences.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. That is going to wrap up this Faithful Friday edition of Morning Light. And later today, you can go to saltandlightradio.com, click the Morning Light page, and then hit segments. If you missed any of today's great show or previous programs, you can watch the show now on YouTube, and you can catch back programs on YouTube as well. Download the Salt and Light Radio app before you head out on vacation this summer. Visit saltandlightradio.com for information about upcoming events, the Idaho Catholic Women's Conference, and also the Vocations Trap Shoot. More details there at our website. Thank you to our guests today, Dr. John Bergsma, Eddie Trask, and Diann Scheetz. Join us Monday for Passionately Pro-Life. We'll introduce our next Parish of the Week, and Mary Wax will return to teach us why Catholics do that. So join us on July 21st for a marvelous Monday edition of Morning Light. St. Maximilian Kolbe, pray for us. And St. Camillus de Lellis, pray for us. And St. Gabriel the Archangel, pray for us.
The